Welcome, Michael Wickerson here. I'm going to show a little bit of what I've been working on and the efficiency of using OpenAI to produce anything you want in any script editor that you can kind of locate. So I'm going to focus in on Blender because it's free, and also I'm having trouble with my Rhino account right now on winter break. So I'll show you basically what happens here. You want to open up Blender, and you want to go to the scripting node. And for showing evidence in what I'm doing animation wise, I'm going to also split screen on this tab horizontal and open a timeline. And I'm going to probably set that timeline to, I don't know, 500 frames. I can change that whenever I want. I can make it less or more, but I'm ready to run a script. I'm able to see if things are running, and I'm able to see if any bugs happen. And how am I producing this code? And this code basically makes a 20-sided die that falls to a table and bounces around. And how did I write that? I'll show you how simple it is in steps. And we'll just do it parts and pieces. If you're interested in following me on Patreon or at Wickerson Studios, you can get all these files. They're all available. Let's take a look at how I'm doing it. Basically, this is a blank prompt. So the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game from the 70s. But teach me about that by creating animations in Blender 4.2, by writing a Python script. Start with 40 basic game design ideas and animations scripts. And that's exactly what it did. Let's make a die rolling animation all the way through character movement, all the way down to portal activation. So I chose the first one and saw what it wrote. It basically clears existing objects. It's a great way to learn how to code. It's a great way to learn how to read code. You won't have to write it. It's kind of like a calculator, and you hardly check your long division with long division, the divide symbol on a calculator. So let the computer do the computation for you. Learn to read it and understand what's happening. Read the comment notes and kind of make sense of what you're visually looking at here, and look at parameters that are changeable. But you can play with materials. I'm playing with the sides, so I'm making an icosphere add, which will be a 20-sided object. It'll get its own name. I'll make a ground plane. I'll add some physics. And the computer does this all for you. Random rotation. I even set up a camera. I do some lighting, and I do some rendering. And I save it. And I save it to a file path that it's ready to go when I'm done. What I do is I take that script and I copy here, and I just cut and paste it into the Blender script. That one, initially, it ended up with a bug. And I could show you exactly where that bug will be. Over here, it will turn up right here in this bottom section of debugging. And when it comes, you'll just have to click on it and hit copy and send it directly back into ChatGPT. You don't even have to say why. You just put in the bug, and it automatically fixes it. And it wrote another die script that basically worked. And I think that one is technically this one. So that one's done. I'm able to hit play on it, and I'm able to set it to whatever I want. If I want to see a fancier render, I should stop it, take a look at what the render is. If it has a camera angle, I may want to look at that. Camera's been decided. I'm okay just looking at it here, and I want to see it run. I can see it in wireframe, which is nice to see if you have geometry stuck inside the mass. Shaded view, and then if you want to see a kind of rendered out fast moving version, it'll run itself through once, and then it'll show you your die. And that's it. Now, that said, I saved the screen. I take a screenshot. I probably went back in and said something in English. It had another bug. Printed it again. But at some point, I worked through the bugs by inputting them. Oh, this is interesting. It was making a 8-sided die. Oh, it was making a 20-sided die, and I said reduce the amount of sides. And then I went up to saying make a 20-sided die. So I guess I had to go all the way through to get to that. So those are my comments. And once that runs, I said make the die an icosahedron, 20 sides, and extend the frames up to 500 frames. So it did that. Made a little adjustment here. And I think I ended up with creating negative numbers. Oh, create negative numbers on each side of the die respectively. And I don't know why I said create negative numbers. Uh, I guess I was thinking about negative Boolean numbers, but it ended up creating negative numbers, which was interesting, and put those on the sides of the dice while I ran it. So I played around, but you can see that all I'm really writing in here is talking to GPT, center the numbering on each of the sides, and it slowly picks through the script, 20-sided script, with a little bit of this as we go. I had to get rid of the negative sign because I didn't notice I actually input negative numbers, which is funny for a die. And then I was thinking of Boolean differencing them and insetting them. And this is where I moved in another kind of direction. And I'll just show you here. If I go and open another script along the way, maybe B, let's see what we end up getting. I decided not to Boolean them. I decided to float the numbers, which was kind of interesting, above, and then provide a kind of lighting for them. I didn't do that yet on this script, but as you can see, those numbers are kind of hovering above, and I really like the idea of the numbers being offset and casting a shadow back on the die. I thought that was just pretty awesome. Like, because you're not building a real die, you're making a digital die. So you can have fun with that. You can play around with what that one would actually be like. And this one, as it falls, you want to put back on here. The numbers are kind of small, but all you have to do is look at your game and talk to the computer about what type of iterations you want to go through. So if I open up and I get to, I'm going to not save that change. I'm going to go in here and see what we did over on C. This might be, now this is still the shadows playing off of what's happening. So let's see what's happening here. I made them bigger, but they were offset. They weren't in the middle, so my die numbers are a little strange. But these are ways you can play with modeling and making things and live within a digital realm of kind of creativity. And, of course, bugging and solving problems. But what you're realizing is that as you go through these, if I get over here to C, that might have been C, the one I just did, file open, let's do D on that 20-sided dice. This one might have the pictures. Not colorful yet, but if I just hit pause, you'll see that I've got this kind of numbers on the right sides, the light's affecting it, the renders, I think they're on the inside of the die. I think the numbers are actually inset. No, they're right coincident with the surface. So I had to play with that. I had to just write within the scripts. You'll learn to read a little bit. You'll have over 100 lines of script. You'll be able to work through it, and you know what your problem is that you want to solve, and you just keep going until you kind of figure it out. So I'm not going to save. I'm going to move through icosahedron 20-sided objects, which I did develop. I thought it was the master one. I thought it was this one. No. File, open. I thought I had a really nice animation. Multi-dice animation of the 20-sided dice. Maybe I did it on one. I don't think so, though. No, didn't have anything on that. Open. I did have a final icosahedron, but maybe I went on to the tetrahedron to solve some of the other images of what. Oh, I actually carried that one through to the icosahedron. That's still the icosahedron. This one you can see I start to get this kind of interesting glow and emissions. So I'm playing around and letting this do that. And you see I'm saving to my desktop as I run it now. Brilliant numbers. And it's kind of a nice tool. I've got things centered, but I've also made this kind of magical, kind of hovering number on the surface that emits these kind of prism-like colors of the die. I thought that was pretty interesting. So once again, as you start to digitally model, you may come up with some innovative ideas and innovative things. So we will go here, we will file open, and tetrahedron 4 was the carryover that was there. Let's go to B and see what we get. This one was, as it runs, you'll see that it starts up here. I just went to a 4-sided object, and it made the changes. And of course I was doing all of this over in my transcript. So after I was done on my 20-sided objects, you can see that I'm trying to solve things by text to code. And sometimes I go back to the code that I want to inspire it by. And I think as we click through here, It's quite long. I already got on the custom tetrahedron die. I was debugging by the cutting and pasting, and here it is. Make it more bouncy, and so it'll roll a little bit more. Because my tetrahedron was a four-sided object, it just flopped on its base like a pyramid. So I think that's where I was playing around a little bit. Let's see what the initial scripts kind of did. They kind of fell and kind of fell flat. Well, it's got a little bounce to it. And what you're learning within doing this is how to read the code, how to modify the code. I think here I've got the collision rigid body because of the size and scale. I can start it up higher. I can move it. I can start it with a different rotation. And let's see if I put on any emissions at all. Let's just stop that and see if it was emitting any. Oh, a very, very tiny number. So in this script, if I wanted to make those numbers bigger, I'd have to jump into here. And where are my numbers? Just go up to the top. Yeah, here. Like if I wanted those numbers bigger, this is what I kind of teach my kids and my son. It's like the script's there for you to modify. Let's run it again. And there we go. We've made it a little bigger. We'll shorten it up. We'll run it through and see if it can fall with some bigger numbers. And there you go. You get that bigger. And you'll see that it's backwards. So I had to solve that. I had to flip these according to their axes on the surface. So understanding things computationally, you just keep going through and by word of mouth, which I've done for everybody that's interested in my script. So tetrahedron 3C. Let's see what C ends up being like. We'll hit play and we'll run it back. This one's coming in. And do we have any numbers on it? No, still small. Let's go over here and open D3C is what we had, tetrahedron. Let's see how far we carried that one through right here. I guess that was the last one. I didn't solve all my problems, or maybe I didn't save on every level. But if we take a look, here it comes in. We flop down the number. We see that we have our little tiny number on it, which I think is accurate now. It's hard to say. It might have flipped around. What number's there? Ugh, pain in the butt. I should learn to navigate. Well, I don't have a number slider with me right now. There it is. It's coming down. Let's just zoom in there. We got our 1. We got our 3 backwards, and we probably have a problem with our our 2. Yeah, our 2 is backwards, looking like a 5. But excuse me, allergies. You can see that things are kind of picking around. I'm going to go in here. And then I decided, well, let's just play with a cube in as many ways possible. So I start with that kind of 4-side cube. Probably ended with the tetrahedron working because then I saved it as a new one. Let's go in here and see what we ended up doing. Yeah, we've got the numbers turned around. We have it coming in. It's emitting itself. And that final script is what I should name it differently because it looks like it's the cube, but it's the final version of the tetrahedron. Same thing I did with the other one. So if we stop that, the render will kind of go through. But I like these kind of glowing numbers, and actually I like pulling them off the top so they float, but they also don't influence the base. They don't bounce off the base. They kind of go underneath it. So only the tetrahedron actually has a physics collider on the base, which is kind of nice. So that's it. And I was just playing around, like, where are my numbers? What am I making? Pretty nice little simple script. It's under 200 lines of code and does everything, saves it to file as you do it, and you can have a little fun with it. So what did I do there? I opened up and I ran through tons of iterations until I ended up with this kind of crazy cube H, I think. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see. Oh, I like the way it kind of shows it. Yeah, I don't want that one yet. I don't want that one. This one maybe. I think this is the 6 cube. Multi-dice was a nice example. So multi-dice was kind of a crazy one. Let's go in here. And you'll see that all these dice come firing down. Kind of fun. And they bounce, and I get them on really bouncy, and they kind of pick off of each other and bounce around, and they provide this kind of final, nice, finished remedy. And that line of script is still probably not many more. Not even 200 lines of script as well. So that's kind of nice to get through. And then I think I ended with kind of this idea of wanting to go transparent and have a cube that could basically have a cube within it. I thought it would be nice to have an opaque and another one within it. However, I thought I'd made this kind of purple and yellow. And so that's a cube bouncing around within a cube, which is kind of nice. One opaque and one solid. I thought I'd change the colors, so let's just go here and open and see if I don't have a final cube, multi-dice cube. Maybe I didn't save it in here. HI. What's this one look like? Yeah, I thought I had one with the colors, but maybe not. Which means I just have to go back into my transcript, which is available also to those interested. If I go all the way down to here to the bottom, was I ending with that final transcript? Two nested cubes that are transparent. Let's take this one and let's just fire. We'll save this, save, and we'll go to File, Save As, and we'll just put it in as a J. Yeah, J, and save it, and then I'll go in here and I'll select the script and write it, and let's see if I don't get that. Yeah, then I get that purple and yellow. So if we run that script, I just use a complementary transparency that would allow me to, and we can look at this via camera as well, falls into itself, bounces around the inside cube, the outside cube till it settles itself, and then if I want to stop, you'll see that I've got a nice render of this kind of glass yellow cube with this glowing emitted cube inside. And I took the numbers off at this point. It didn't really matter to me. But once again, you've still got a couple hundred lines of code that work really well and actually shorten the code without having to put the numbers in. And all of that was written in what I call the Wickerson way, which is find a problem for yourself. This one happened to be teach me about this, but I do everything. I've taught myself Blender, Squid Game, Blender, AI towers, architecture, path simulations, robotic arm dances, whatever I want, I kind of just go in here confidently. So if I look at this one, who knows what I was initially saying. Oh, I was saying advertise myself, but I've went in this Squid Game. I did exactly the same thing. Go in here and teach me about the popular Squid Game series, and immediately it was like, well, you're going to need a red light, green light game, and then you're going to want a tug of war game, and then you're going to want a marble game. Well, I didn't do that. I just went through and focused on the red light, green light game, and it wrote this, I think it was 800 lines in the end, integrated collision detection into the script by the end, and it did basically everything. And I was able to pop out a pretty cool game that if I go in here, I spent a lot of time on this, it seems. If I go in here and open, it's a very simple Squid Game because I was doing this earlier. If I go into my desktop and I find a way into Blender, I'll get this all. I thought I had it date modified. Blender should be at the top because that's what I'm working on. I've got Squid Game, Game Design, Architecture, D&D. So the Squid Game was the same, and we can reverse that and do the final script of it, which by the end had done all 7 stages of it, written into 200 lines of script, and basically these little guys start and stop as it goes red and green. If any of them collide with the ball, they disappear. So a nice simple game to get started on this, but not as exciting as I think the dice that I was doing. Anyway, that's basically it in a nutshell. I'll put this one up, and if anybody wants to see more, give me some ideas, I'll do it. That's what I've been up to over this, I guess the last week or last couple days. I just got back into Blender. I think it's only been like 2 or 3 days. Take a look at WickersonStudios.com, see what's there. Could be fun, and all those scripts are available. Take care.